Welcome back. My guest today, unless you have lived under a rock somewhere, is someone that you already know. Magnificent, famous TV personality, a very massive advocate for women's health and fitness, with very successful fitness programs and books and other stuff. An advocate for well-being and health in general, and on top of it all, someone who has had such a varied life, so many lives, to be honest, that she blew me away. Now, the problem... Oh, by the way, Davina McCall. Davina's story is really what blows me away. I have to admit, first of all, Davina, thank you so much for being here.
Such an honor. It's so nice to
I
be
love
with
you already, which was... honestly, I mean, can I be honest? I
Yes.
live under a rock. That's the problem. So I've never watched Big Brother, never seen you in that, and I only started to know you when you started to talk about you. Okay, and oh my God, I tear up, I cry, then I sort of fall in love a little. Then seriously, and you've lived so many lives, and you've achieved so much. And when I was preparing for this, I normally don't prepare for podcasts at all, but you have more followers than the Dalai Lama. So I thought maybe I should know a little bit about you, so that I'm smart when we do this. And then halfway through, I decided, no, I'm not going to do it. I actually want to get to know you here.
Great.
Right?
Good.
So, okay. Hi, nice to meet you. Who are you?
Hi, Mo. I always think that's quite an interesting question because I would say I am Davina McCall.
Davina is such a beautiful name. You're the
Yeah.
first Davina I meet.
You know, it's funny, my mum and dad, I always ask my mum and dad. My mum did this quite crazy thing. She's French. She was French.
Is she still?
And she died maybe 14 or 15 years ago. But I always said to her, where did you get the name Davina from? And she was a bit like, I don't really know. But she used to call me Nanu,
Nanu.
which is like short for Nanushka.
Okay.
But I thought...
Which
well,
is
like,
not French either.
if you wanted to call me Nanu, like, why didn't you just call me Nanu? It's sort of quite confusing. But...
Is it a memory thing? Like she couldn't remember you were Davina?
yeah. Is it, hang on a minute. What's your name again?
What were you? Yeah.
So it means it's the feminine form of David.
Okay.
And... but I don't think they meant that. It just was a nice name that they thought of.
Is
But
it,
was I
isn't
quite...
it, is it, to me, it was the feminine form of divine.
Oh,
Davina.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Do you know what was quite funny was when I was working at MTV, and we had a great time when we worked at MTV. It was when MTV Europe launched, and it was at a time of we didn't get paid much money as VJs, you know, video jockeys, but the budgets for the filming were massive, you know, so we'd go and film all over the world and have a really good time. So I'm at a rollerblading race. So MTV pay for about 10 of us to go and film a rollerblading race in Rome.
Okay.
And the Pope
All right.
blesses the rollerblading race.
Seriously.
Yeah. And he comes out and he says, Davina.
Exactly.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I
He
knew
knows
he was,
me, he
I
knows
know
me.
he wasn't really saying my name, but I was like,
Yeah.
this is so funny.
Yeah, it is. It's the first impression, the first thing that came to my mind with the name is divine, right? And I you know, it's in my mind, it's a bit of a responsibility to be called Davina, right? It's like,
mean,
can you live up to this?
I've never really thought of it like that, but
now
I
I've
do
cornered
really,
you.
I really like the fact that there aren't many Davinas. I love the fact
Yeah.
that I could put it into someone's phone and not put my surname. So that's really easy. It makes my life easier. And I guess if you were going to ask me who I am, I would always say I'm a work in progress, because I feel always amused when a journalist would say to me, but you said 10 years ago, blah, blah, blah. And I would say, well, I've changed my mind. I mean, I'm
I'm a
constantly
different one now. Yeah.
evolving. You
Yeah.
know, I'm a different person to who I was yesterday, last week, always learning, always room for improvement.
So many lives. So many lives. One thing I try to do without judgment at all is I always try to distill a person's energy into the one thing that describes them most for me. And the more I get to know about you, the more I go like, so many lives. So many, not just careers, but you really keep reforming, reshaping. You become almost a different person every time.
What I think I've really enjoyed about my career is that it's never really been a conscious decision to choose a different path. What I think I have always tried to do is when an opportunity comes my way, if I feel like the energy of it is correct, and I've made mistakes, but if I feel like I will just take it, and I don't necessarily always think about money or a trajectory, I'll just think this has to be done. I mean, possibly in my later life, me talking about the menopause, which was kind of at the time seen as career suicide, but I felt it had to be done. I was so upset with the lack of knowledge or information or education out there for women and for doctors around a part of life that no woman is going to be able to avoid. We all go through it, every single one. I thought, oh, well, this needs to get spoken about. And I've got to a point where I don't really care what it does to my career. It has to be done. But actually what it did was it opened amazing new doors. But by walking into the unknown, the amazing new doors opened. And I would never have known that was going to happen. It wasn't a kind of, like I said, it wasn't a path that I thought, oh, I'll do this because it'll get me more work in the long run. But somehow it has. And I've just been, I don't know whether it's luck or meant to be or whatever, but I've always just kept going in a direction that I've enjoyed. And if I've slightly gone off path, I think, well, how can I steer it back to a place where I want to be? And you were talking about energy earlier, like if I could kind of talk about an energy, what would you be? And an energy to my life, it's hard to explain it, but positivity, a good energy, a feeling, a vibe is getting more and more and more important to me. I only want to be around people where I feel safe and in a good place, and my life is too short.
Yeah, and I think contaminating it is just too confusing, to be honest. We're so similar on this because when you were talking, I actually realized I never said no to a proposal that was given to me, ever. Never negotiated the job. So anytime, the only thing I always said is my family lives in Dubai, so don't move them. That's the only thing I said, and I said yes to every tide that life sent my way. I was like, okay, let's surf this. Let's see where it goes, which is a very most people would want to cross their arms and say, I'm self-made. I made the right choices, and I made no choices at all, to be honest.
I feel like that.
Right? You get
feel
chosen.
like kind of, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like the choices came to me, and I've had many really fun nights with my partner talking about sliding doors. I love
that movie so much.
I love that possibility of if I'd have gone that way, something completely different would have happened. Choices that we make, why did we make those choices? That even looking back on my life, the wrong choices that I felt that I may have made at the time ended up being the right choices. I mean, when you say that you felt like things happened to you, have you made any wrong, like were there wrong things that happened to you? Or did it all go?
So I had a boss. I had very few good bosses in my career.
Well, that's saying something, isn't it?
What is it saying?
Well, I think it's just quite interesting that bosses generally are
horrible,
not good. What can be done about that?
No. I think maybe my definition of a good boss is a bit selfish. I always I worked really hard. I didn't need supervision. I just wanted someone to teach me something. And I don't
think that's selfish.
Yeah.
A boss is there to guide you, teach you.
That's a very innocent way of looking at it.
That's me.
Yeah, I think bosses are there to milk every bit of profit out of your abilities. That's sadly the truth. But I remember I had one who, without mentioning name, was completely useless. But he taught me one thing that really stuck with me, which was no decision will ever kill you. The only decision that would kill you is no decision.
Yes.
It's to get stuck in that cycle of indecisiveness.
That's fear, isn't
But
it?
and then every other decision, you will have to revise 1,000,000 times a year, sort of. You make a choice and you go like, I'm going to go for that career instead of this career. I'm going to work with this person instead of that person. I'm going to start this project, not that project. And then the only wrong thing that could happen is that you stick to it even if it didn't work out. So I write at least 7 times as much as I publish. A lot of people go like, are you nuts? Right?
What have you written on that's unpublished?
Love and romance, for example, which we are about to talk about. I wrote the book 7 times. And every time and this is the point. The point is I don't try to publish it. I write it because there is self-reflection, and I write because there is so much to learn. I write because I'm curious. And then the mistake would be I go down that path and then I publish it because I wrote it. You know what I mean? I don't. I give it to people. They read it. 80% of my listeners and followers are women, 82%. So if I try to create the same sample size, and almost every single one of the women would write back to me and say, this is magnificent. Don't ever publish it. I swear. And I'm like, why? And she says, it will offend a lot of women. And then when I met Hannah, my wonderful wife, Hannah was like, Hannah is just brilliant.
I love the way you talk about her.
I love her so much.
It's so nice.
So she's brilliant. She really is. And actually there was a moment of realization in our relationship around 3 months in, where we have this practice of a coffee every morning. When we're in the same place, we're often not in the same place. But we spend the first 3 hours having a very long coffee. She's a crazy coffee fanatic like I am. And, we brag about who makes the better coffee, and then we sit and sip them slowly.
Does?
She does.
Okay.
It's really sad, honestly. But you see, because I'm really good at making my coffees. But anyway, so and there was that moment where I was sitting in front of her, and then suddenly I said, shit, she's smarter than I am. And that's a very, very, very scary feeling to actually realize in my typical relationships, that wasn't the case. And so she teaches me all the time. So I showed her my work on Finders Keepers. It used to be Finding Love. We're now calling it Finders Keepers. And she's a therapist. And so she looked at it and she said, oh, that's going to offend a lot of people.
Why is it going to offend a lot of people?
This is my podcast. You realize that?
Sorry.
It is. It's because I have a very, very strong affiliation with the truth. I don't sugarcoat anything. I just write things exactly as they are. And I took an angle to love and romance that is typical of my crazy mind, mathematics based. So I basically view love and romance as an economic problem. It's a supply and demand problem. It really is. At its very core, it's a supply and demand problem. And things like social media and the inflated expectations that come from social media,
yes.
Things like dating apps have completely skewed the supply-demand equation. Sadly, in favor of a very, very, very small minority of men. Okay, so it didn't even just skew it in favor of men, it skewed it in favor of 20% of men. And everyone else is struggling with the rest of the supply-demand equation. And so I write it that way, and there is no romance in understanding the supply-demand imbalance of love and romance. Okay? And of course, many of us are so romantic that they go like, no, Mo, but seriously,
But how did you meet Hannah?
Yeah, that's...
Was that romantic?
It's the most romantic story on the planet.
Well, there you go.
No,
That's what we
no,
want.
Davina. No, Davina. Let me explain this to you. Is this my podcast or you? Okay, so you see, when people don't understand mathematics deeply enough, they think that to get a 6 out of rolling a dice, you have to roll 6 times. Okay? That's only true on the first time you roll. When you've rolled 3 times and you're about to roll the 4th time, your probability of getting a 6 is 1 in 3.
Oh.
And then when you roll the 5th time, your probability to get a 6 is 1 in 2. And when you're rolling the 6th time, your probability is actually 1 in 1. If the world works as per probabilities, of course, it doesn't happen all the time. But from a probability point of view, you've done your 5 throws. You've done your 5 rolls, right? So the 6 is likely, as per the theory of probability, to be a 6. And that's what most people don't understand, is that incredibly beautiful romantic encounter of Hannah and I meeting is actually because we've done a lot of work. It's the natural mathematical result. It's a natural economic result, if you want, of having tried so many times, identified exactly what was wrong with ourselves. Because if I had met Hannah 5 years ago, she wouldn't have taken me. If I had met her 5 years ago, I might not have taken her, right? If I had met her without meeting so many others in my life that taught me something about myself, we may have gotten together and then broke up because we were both not ready, right? There is so much that happens in the background of it that most people don't talk about. Most people, when you ask them for love and romance advice, they'll tell you, you know what, on the first day say A, B, and C, on the second date say da, 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 then it's crap. If you're not ready, you're not ready. If you haven't done the work, you haven't done the work. And so she basically sat me down and told me that stuff.
My auntie told me when I was a young girl, and you fall for somebody and then you break up with them and you're brokenhearted and you think, God, I've had several boyfriends and none of them have worked out, and what's going on? What's wrong with me? And she said, everyone is preparing you for the right one.
Correct.
You're just not ready yet.
Correct.
And I was like, oh, okay, it's not a waste of time.
That's
I just need to learn.
Yeah.
What did I learn from this?
Yeah.
Each experience. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
Oh, come on.
How old are you?
You're the second person to ask me today.
Am I?
Yeah.
Only because about you meeting somebody later in life. Because
I know. I was just about to ask about that with you.
Yeah, I got together with Michael, 51, and I feel exactly the same way as you. I feel like every relationship I had kind of prepared me to be a better person for this relationship.
So spill the beans. Tell me about that story.
Well,
Michael.
What's interesting is because I'm quite guarded about it, really, because obviously we both were married before, and I think that's a big thing. And we've both got children from our previous relationships, and our ex-husbands and wives are the parents of those children, and those children can listen to this, or their friends can listen to this. So I don't want to bang on about Michael and our story, but I can say that this is a very healthy relationship, and I don't think I was ready to have this kind of a transparent relationship where we just sit and talk about things, no arguments ever, just a discussion through something, or it's just a very healthy relationship. And I don't think I would have been able to be as good a partner if we'd have got together 10 years ago, or it's a very, very interesting thing. So people say, "Oh, what? I've got to wait until I'm your age." Listen, I was married. I was married for 20 years.
No, you don't
and
have to wait yet.
We've got 3 beautiful children, and that was not a waste of time. We had a marriage and we had 3 amazing children. That's great.
Yeah.
But this is an amazing time in my life, and I think it's because I'm in a good place. He's in a good place, and we've got 2 well people that can come together. Somebody said to me once, because I went to Narcotics Anonymous for many, many years, and somebody said to me once, 2 ills don't make a well. If you take 2 people who
That's
are trying
so true.
And I think, we've come together as two wells, making it even better.
So I find that quite interesting, because there is that dream of, if I find the one, it will work. Do you think there is such a thing?
So I think that there can only be the one when you've sorted yourself out.
Correct.
So that's, you could meet the one, but you'll mess it up because you're not sorted.
Correct.
And so it's a job on self-development. And I feel like I've said in my Instagram kind of biog, a work in progress.
I love that.
And it's like I said earlier, it's a constant evolution, but that maybe I was in the right place to meet somebody and start a healthy relationship now. And I don't know why that happened, or I feel very lucky that it has. But I also think that people get very stuck on a type. So they'll go, oh, my type is tall and dark and, big
that
body
drives
and stuff.
me crazy.
And you think it's got nothing to do with that.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
And you know what happens? Again, my horrendously mathematical mind, you literally shut yourself off from every good opportunity. You see, the challenge is if you tell yourself, I want a man to start, right? That basically switches off a little more than half of the possibilities in the world, right? So now, if one of every two people, it's now slightly less than that, is a man, okay? And you decide, I want that man to be between age A and age B, which is 1 in every 5 people, the probability is not now 1 in 7. It's 1 in 10. It's 2 multiplied by 5. And if you say taller than 165 and 1 in every 10, then it's 1 in 70. So it keeps escalating so quickly. It's to the power of, okay? And by wanting silly things, we shut ourselves off from the most important things that we actually need.
And I think the other big question that I always had to ask myself, which I find super important, and I always say this to my kids, is do you like the person you are with that person?
Yes.
So do they make you the best version of you?
Yeah.
It's like you might not be a jealous person at all, but go out with somebody and suddenly you feel this odd foreign feeling and you think, I don't know what this feeling is, but I feel so jealous. Well, that's because there is something in them that's not agreeing with you. And I've also had friendships or a situation sometimes where I might be trying to help somebody, say, get sober, or and there will be something. I spoke to a friend of mine that was a psychotherapist, and he was a really good mate, so I could kind of ask him questions without actually being his client. And I said that I can feel I'm getting into an unhealthy pattern trying to help this woman, and I don't understand what's going on, and I don't like the way I'm behaving. I feel strange. And when I explained what was happening, she was sending me lots of quite drunk texts and saying, you've got to help me. And I was getting very involved. And then it was affecting my day-to-day. And then day-to-day life, I was thinking about her a lot. She could kind of manipulate me and make me feel really sad and guilty. And then she would call me on big days, like she didn't have any children or a partner, and she would call me on Mother's Day, on the first day of a holiday with the kids, on days when she knew it was quite a difficult time to talk, and dump a massive problem on me. And I did manage to get her into treatment for free, because I was a patron of a charity that wanted to give recovery to people for nothing, because obviously by the time you go to recovery, you've usually snorted, drunk, or injected any pennies that you have, and you don't have any money to go to treatment. So I got her into there, and then she came out and she relapsed, and it got really bad. And I was talking to him and I was like, help me. I don't know what's going wrong, but I'm going mad and I'm behaving in a very uncharacteristic way. And he said, you have hooked into a really unhealthy relationship with somebody that reminds you of your mother. And
wow.
you are trying to rescue your mother all over again. And she is not wanting to rescue herself she is looking to you to make her better, and you can't do that. And you are feeling that, and you really want to make her better, but it's making you feel mad because it's not working, and you're trying everything, but the only person that can do it is her. And that was a really interesting kind of call, because after that I thought in every relationship I got into, men or women, friendships or whatever, I thought, am I being healthy in this relationship, or am I kind of going back to an old story in my life and trying to heal something from that? I'm always, I mean, maybe sometimes I think too much about things or go in too deep about things, but it's served me well, I think, to reflect and try and understand reasons why I do things. But that was a big one.
Well, how did you feel after that? So when you suddenly realize, oh, this is actually representing my relationship with my mother.
Well, I said to this friend, I said, look, I really, really want to help you, but unless you want to do the things that you know will help you, and I've told you what those are, I can't do any more than that. I can't offer you more than that. She got very angry, and she hung up. And then we hardly spoke. I kind of messaged her a bit, and then eventually, about 2 years later, she took her own life.
Oh my God!
And it was hard not to kind of blame myself for that, but that she didn't want helping. She couldn't get out of victim mode, and it was almost as if her desperation to kind of clamber out of somewhere was like taking everybody down with her, and in the end, nobody could handle being around her anymore because everybody was like, I can't do anything. It was, and in the end, I think she just felt really alone. And she'd tried to kill herself several times before, but I'd felt like they were cries for help rather than real attempts. Like she just was saying, look, I'm in real pain. And we'd say, like, what can we do? Go to a meeting, go to treatment, try and do something, stop drinking. But it was like, I don't want to do that. What else can I do? It's like, no, that is the thing that will make you feel better.
You touch again. There are so many similarities between us. There is that part of my life that I struggled with for a very long time, because if you have a methodology that works, you sort of like blame yourself if it didn't work for someone. You know what I mean? You sort of put yourself in that I am responsible for them, which is not true at all. As a matter of fact, one of my biggest moments in my whole life, most people don't know that. Probably very few people know that, actually. So, my work on artificial intelligence has been quite challenging, because I came out to the world with my warnings in 2018. And I was, it couldn't be more clear. I wasn't, hinting really. And in my early videos of 1 Billion Happy, it wasn't, I was basically saying, this is it, right? And it just didn't work. It didn't work. And then I published Scary Smart in 2021, wrote it in 2020. And Scary Smart was a very clear biography almost of what's going to happen. And it happened verbatim. 3 years later, the entire world was talking about AI. And I started to give myself the responsibility of I have to fix it.
Yes.
And I can fix it. That was the problem. The problem is I was so convinced that I know exactly the right steps to fix it. But I never had the right contacts or the right... I'm not Elon Musk, right? I don't have the resources. I don't have the contacts. I don't have the political connections. And until last year, actually, October, because I remember I spoke to Hannah about this very frequently when we were first early dating. I was collapsing under the pressure of, I have to fix it. And once again, she's just simply sort of somehow managed to get me to see that no, you can try to fix it. It's not your choice to determine the path that life will take, or the path that your friend will take. Okay, you can only try. You can never give yourself the total responsibility to do it. But somehow it's actually quite a difficult thing when you know that something is going wrong, or that your friend might take her own life. But what can I do?
I mean, the weight of responsibility, I suppose, around AI for you is massive. But I really remember your first podcast with Stephen, and I must have called him 3 times during your podcast and going, no, Stephen, I can't listen to anymore. No, oh my God, I've got to place, no, okay, I'm going to go back and listen to some more. I'm going to call you back later. Then I play it again. I was like, oh my God. Because what's interesting for me with that in life is that I feel like my responsibility, almost to you, but to society as well, is even if it's something that I really don't want to hear, I have to listen. You can't just put your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening.
Yeah.
And there are lots of people out there and saying, this could be absolutely amazing. And it really could be. And there are so many fantastic things that could happen. But it could also be catastrophically wrong in the wrong hands, which is kind of what we were saying, and who's out there safeguarding that, and what can you do about it. But I guess I felt like it was my duty to finish listening. I didn't really know you very well before that.
Yeah.
And but it was quite an interesting experience for me, not wanting to hear it, but thinking I owe it to the world to listen and know about this stuff.
So there is in technology something that we normally call pessimism avoidance. Actually, Mustafa Suleyman, who's written the book The Coming Wave, incredible book on the topic, made that very clear. The idea that you do not want those people that tell you, oh, but all of this progress can backfire. And it's quite interesting because...
What did you call it again? The pessimism
avoidance, yeah.
Avoidance.
Or aversion, if you want to, right? It's like don't be pessimistic. Technology has always worked out. We always found new jobs and so on and so forth. And I think the idea is that there are things like, when you're stuck in drugs or alcohol or whatever, that are so clearly deductible from the situation you're in. You can easily forecast where this is going. But the person doesn't want to hear, doesn't want to listen. And I think that the trick is you find yourself in this situation trying to help because you've gone through the pain yourself. You know what they're going through. You just want to save them.
And especially like you said, because I've done it myself with I had got clean and sober. And I thought, but this is how I did it. Come on.
Yeah.
You must be able to
do it.
It's doable.
It's doable. Yeah.
And, but I've seen it since. I've seen it before. What was interesting was that there was something in her. And my mum had done a few suicide attempts, but that I think she knew weren't serious enough to take her from us, but they were kind of a cry for help.
Yeah.
And this woman doing it was like triggered me in quite a massive way. And that's what had kind of caused me to hook into this relationship where I was trying to save somebody that just didn't want to be saved.
Yeah. So you share your story with your mom very openly. There is an interesting side to that story because the way you describe your mom in her early years is a bit like a movie, really. It's like so glamorous and so beautiful and so free. And I sort of almost picture her that, like that beautiful movie star who,
After this interview, I'm going to show you some pictures.
Yeah, I can imagine.
She was like unbelievably gorgeous.
Yeah.
I've done some amazing work on my relationship with my mum in the last year. And So I obviously, well, let me explain to anybody that hasn't heard the story before. My mum was French, my dad was English. They met on a boat coming over from France to the UK, and they stayed up all night in the corridor of the boat talking to each other rather than going to get into their beds because they were so like, wow, completely smitten with each other straight away. And they got married in Paris, and they were so young, 22, 24, and stayed together for maybe 5 years. That was kind of my mum's record, really, with marriages, 5 years. And there was something in her that always felt like the grass was greener somewhere else. She couldn't rest. She was always, and men were always interested in her.
Of course.
And she found it quite hard to resist. And so she left quite a wake of kind of broken-hearted men behind her. And what was interesting for me was this last summer, I had started thinking about what went wrong and why was she the way that she was. And she was kind of really exciting when she met my dad, and she was definitely drinking quite a lot, smoking loads of pot, taking pills, like recreational drug taking. But then later in life, it all got much worse. But she got ovarian cancer when she was in her late 20s. Oh. And through doing my work with the menopause, it suddenly kind of dawned on me last year, oh my God, I don't think she got HRT. Mm. So when you're 28 and you don't get HRT and you've been put into medical menopause, there's a lot of things that happen to you physically. But women, young women in particular, need estrogen, a lot more estrogen than I need now, for their growing bodies, for everything, for every cell in the body. Every cell in your body as a woman needs estrogen. Brain, heart, skin, everything. Sex organs, like everything. And she didn't have that. So she would have crashed and burned. And it made sense to me that she medicated herself with alcohol and drugs and men. And I kind of understood her a lot better after that. But last summer I was with my partner, and we were at a party, and there was, it was kind of mad and like loud music. It was quite late. And I was kind of thinking my mum would have loved this. She'd have really enjoyed this party. And I said to Michael, you'd have loved my mum. And he said, I've met her. And I said, you haven't met her. She died. Like, you never met her. She didn't come over here or... And he put his hand on my chest and he said, but she's in here.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. It was like I was ready to receive it, or maybe because I'd become a bit more sympathetic to how she'd been. I felt like my heart rip open, and I let her in for a minute. And I was like, oh my God, I am half my mother. I'd been, like COVID deniers. I'd been a mother denier. I'd really felt like I'm completely my dad. I'm all the DNA in my body is my father's. I look like my dad. I'm outgoing like my dad. And he said, all the naughty bits about you. Michael said, all your naughty bits are from your mum. And those are the bits that I really like. I was like, oh my God, I've got naughty bits from my mum. And then I said a couple of things and I thought, oh, it's closed again. I could feel myself close her out again. But I thought, I'm ready to explore the fact that my mum was not a completely bad person. She just wasn't a brilliant mother.
I love your mum.
Yeah.
I really do. From what I heard you talk about.
And I said, I'm ready to talk to her third husband, who was the one after my dad. And he'd tried to contact me 2 or 3 times when my mum and my sister died. And I just wasn't ready to hear nice things about my mum. I just couldn't do it. And I thought, I'm ready. So I called him. I said to him, I'm so sorry I didn't call you back, but this thing's happened. And Michael put his hand on my chest and I had this real feeling I want to let mum in. and I'm ready to hear nice things about her. And he said, wow, that's amazing. He said, what do you want to know? I said, how did you meet? And he said, I met her at a party and she wrote her telephone number on my arm in pen, and I had to really roll up my sleeve to make sure it didn't wipe off before I got home. And then the next day I called her, and then she pulled up outside a theatre in a lime green fake fur coat and said, get in. She was in a lovely French accent, and he jumped in and he said, and the rest was history. We got married really quickly, and everything that he was telling me was like music to my ears, because I thought, this is the side of my mum that I just didn't want to look at. The kind of magic, fun side that was so attractive, that drew people to her in such a magnetic way. And then he said, because he was a fantastic photographer, and he said, I have got boxes of photographs of your mother that I have kept for you or your sister, but my sister died, in the hope that you might
one day
get in touch with me. And he said, in fact, there's a picture of your mum in my kitchen that my wife and I have had up in every house that we've been to. My wife's been very nice about it. But we had and then the next time I spoke to him, he said, we've had a chat and we'd love you to come and get the pictures. So I'm going to go and get them this summer from him, and maybe go down and stay the night and get some more funny stories.
And are you going to make a coffee table of it? A coffee table book of it?
I am, you know what I did, Mo? I put a picture up. We've got, this sounds really depressing, but we've got a table of, we call it our table of death. I know that sounds terrible, but it's all the dead people in our lives, me and Michael, that we've loved and lost, family members. And I put a picture of my mum on the table of death, which is kind of made, she's rolling a joint in it, which I thought was hilarious. So she's rolling a joint, and she's wearing a belt buckle, and it says, I am the boss. And I love it. It's so funny. And I look at it every day when I get out of the shower, and I kind of acknowledge that she's my mother, and I am half her, and I love her. It's forgiveness is like a really... It takes a long time, and I totally understand when people just aren't ready to do it. And I was not ready to forgive last year. I was ready to understand. I could intellectually kind of break it down and go, she couldn't be my parent. She just didn't have it in her. But there was something in me that was so hurt and defensive. And interestingly, Michael pointing out that she is literally in me. Half of her is in me. I mean, half of me is her, that I felt finally kind of ready to open my heart to her. And for my birthday last year, Michael had gone on eBay and scoured the world for the belt buckle. And
no way.
He found it.
He's a good man, this one. He's a
me.
keeper, that one.
Yeah. So I was like, how? Like, I opened my present. I was like, oh my God, I am the boss, like that. Yeah, so it's been a real journey, that one with my mum, because I think ultimately the older I get, the more important principles, spiritual principles like forgiveness and spirituality and are becoming more and more important to me. I don't know if it's because I feel like I'm careering towards the end of life, and these are things that I like embracing to kind of make me a whole person. I don't know. How about you? What do you?
I have to say, when I listen to the stories that you tell about your mom, we haven't actually spoken enough about them. But you know, the person that she was, again, literally like a movie star, with all of the glamour and all of the ruleless life, like the freedom of doing whatever.
So free.
Yeah, and I have to admit, you know, my typical younger Mo would get really frustrated with people like that. I would go like, what is wrong with you? Why are you not responsible?
Well, I think that's how I felt as a kid.
Yeah. And I have to say, as I grew older, there are two sides to my view of it. One is actually what is wrong with me. Interestingly is the question. It's not what's wrong with you. Okay? And more interestingly is that simple concept of we're all lost. every single one of us, even your happiness guru, is still searching, right? And when you really think through that, we're just lost differently. Every one of us takes a very, very unusual path through life. You know, a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And as Hannah, my wonderful wife, teaches me, she's a therapist, so she basically talks about that concept of scripts. That, you know, every one of us creates a script of how life should be like. And that script is informed by so many, you know, little things that are probably not even true, but you've seen them in a certain way at a young age that made them look bigger than they really are. And you never revisited them. And now somehow when I look at people like your mom, I go like, man, I love you. Right? Because in a very interesting way, you just were true to yourself. Yeah, and isn't that a gift? To be able to say, you know what, I'm a little turned on by beautiful men, and I am wealthy, and my health in a way is depriving me of a certain thing that's important for me, and you know, and basically put all of that together, and your mom becomes the person that she is. If any of us had the same conditions, they would behave exactly the same. And yet, because we don't have the same conditions, we think of them as, oh, what are they doing with their lives? They're doing exactly what they should do based on the conditioning and the scripts they wrote, and their biology and their circumstance and their country and their upbringing and their sexuality and their hormones and their everything. So interesting.
I mean, what's funny is that everything that you say, I completely knew. Even before last year, I kind of understood that other people would feel like that. What's so interesting, I think, as a child of somebody like that I remember as a little girl, I would constantly just call other people's parents mummy. I'd go to people's mums and I'd think I'd like
you to be my mum.
Yeah. It was a bit sad when I look back at it, and I think I was just calling everybody's mum mummy, hoping that they might want to kind of do some mummy shit with me. Like, it was quite a confusing time, my childhood, I think, trying to love my mother for that kind of mad person, but at the same time needing something and knowing that she couldn't fulfill it. And that's why I had a very close relationship with my sister, because
your sister is
Caroline. So
yeah,
she was my mum's first child.
Okay, from another father.
Yeah, born when my mum was 16, so she got pregnant at 15.
Wow.
And they were very strict Catholics, and they made my mum marry Roland, and then they got divorced quite quickly.
You can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, madness. And my mum, Caroline, went to live with her parents in Paris, and then my mum met my dad and moved to the UK. And then I went to live with my grandparents, my dad's parents, in the UK. But me and my sister kind of came together. And I used to go over to Paris, you know, every holiday, and my sister would fulfill the kind of motherly role. So I slept in my sister's bed. She had a double bed, and we had there was a flat in Paris. And I would sleep with her, and she was 6 years older than me, but she used to kind of stroke my forehead to help me get to sleep and stuff. Because our mum would be crazy. And then we'd get into bed and I'd be like, oh, God, give me a cuddle. Like, she'd stroke my forehead just to get to sleep, like a mum would. She was amazing, my sister. She was a very solid influence on my life. And I'm very lucky to have had her. What I think is interesting about children and parents is how many kids have quite a dysfunctional relationship
with their parents. I'd probably say how many don't is the question. It's almost, I mean, it's the only, the funny bit is that you're told that you can only drive a car when you have a driver's license, but you can sort of raise a kid without a kid raising license. You know, most of it, and I don't, you know, I mean, I look back at my life with my kids because if I had raised them now, holy cow.
I know, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Different story, right?
Totally. Like, I can see so many things with so much clarity.
Yeah.
And I was like literally stumbling in the dark all the time, right?
What would you...
It's one word, really. It's all about love. You know, all of that crap that they teach you about responsibility and raising them to be tough and raising them to be this and raising them. What are you talking about?
I feel like it's love and boundaries.
No, actually.
No boundaries.
Look, I mean, the reason why kids try to break boundaries is because they're not loved.
Yes, I mean, I think the two things that I did right was love. I did love my kids. The one thing I probably wish I'd done more was just carry my little baby around with me nonstop everywhere, like
Correct.
on me.
Yeah.
And I think at the time it was quite kind of, you know, you got to put your baby down in this room to go to sleep and stuff. I wish I hadn't done that.
Would you believe it? This is if you
a
ask me
secure
about
attachment thing.
any regret in my life, my top regret is that when we were raising Aya, we were told this thing is like, if she cries, just put her down, she will stop crying. Idiots. Idiots. Why would you ever do that? Right? And in a very, very interesting way, all she needed was to feel safe.
Yes.
And what we were we were making her feel more unsafe, right? And abandoned almost. And that's the biggest regret in my entire life, right? You see, the problem is this. The problem is that if you manage to find unconditional love to your kids, not conditional, it's not based on what they do, and allow yourself to experiment along with them, right? Like enough attention for, you know, I think the one thing that made me, to be honest, is my wonderful late mom. She left us a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago? How are you?
I'm in reflection, in very deep reflection. Not for any reason other than you know, I've been on my mission for a very long time now, right? So people heard of my work in 2017, but 10 years, so 2014 when Ali left our world was the time when I basically said, this is it, my life has changed. And I am blinded by this, like, and I have no regrets, zero regrets, right? I'm blinded by what I do. I see no reason for my life other than this, right? And what I'm doing is working. It's quite interesting, huh? But I have to wonder if I could have spent more time with her. I have to wonder if, not how much she would have enjoyed spending more time with me, but how much I would have, how much I deserve to have spent more time with her. And, you know, I'm a freaking machine. People don't realize that because I'm really chill. I'm very, very calm and chill all the time. But I do 12-hour days on average. And you know, I don't consider any of it work at all. So there is almost no reason why I wouldn't. I mean, like, give me 3 hours to write, okay? That's not work. That's like, thank you so much for the cuddle, okay? But I have to say, in reflection, I'm starting to wonder exactly how many hours should have gone in other things, right? But why was I saying that about my mom? My mom, I'm not a typical child. I'm a bit on the spectrum and highly, you know, when you're a little bit there, you always sort of like master a very clear skill. And you really start to almost become obsessive about it. And my skill is making things. I like to make things.
Oh, do you?
Oh my God, I make so many things. You have no idea.
Like what? Out of what?
Everything. Like I'm like a Jesus quality carpenter.
Can I say something? This is so funny. My partner Michael is exactly the same.
Yeah,
he makes things.
Makes things
all the time.
Yeah.
He made a kitchen.
Exactly.
He made a set of taps.
Yeah.
With a welding thing that he learned on YouTube. He's just made a coffee table outside, tiled it.
Yeah. And you know,
and do you find that therapeutic?
I cannot survive without it.
That's exactly
what I was just about to tell you. And you know what's crazy is that if you really want to kill us, stop us making things.
Yeah.
And it's just endless. I mean, a book is a thing. So I'm making a book, or, you know, I used to play music, but I also needed to compose music. I used to, you know, with carpentry, like 90% of the things I make, I don't need, but I need to make them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And and I think the thing that my mom really changed my life with is she just allowed me to constantly experiment. So I would go like, and I remember vividly, I said, I want to play the keyboards. And so they got me this piano-like thing. And 3 weeks in, I said, no, it's not for me. I want to play the guitar on the same day. Okay. And 2 days later, I had a guitar, right? And I became really good at it. But that's idea of they would never go like, no, you shouldn't have. And they never told me what to do, right? I want to learn carpentry in my age. The only way to do that was books. So on their next trip somewhere in the world, they would come back with like a full a box of books and basically give me all the tools and say, go ahead, cut your fingers, hurt yourself. And that was it. So when it comes to kids, if you ask me, I think that's the role of a parent.
Do you have regrets, though, about the time that you didn't spend with your mum? Is that
this is my podcast, you remember?
You?
I'm just
but is it? I'm just interested because
I know for sure.
I think when people go, I always think to myself, am I doing something that I will be proud of if this person was to leave? When my mum died, I knew she was dying, and we were estranged. And I thought I could possibly go to South Africa, where she lived, on my own and go and say goodbye. And my kids were little, and I was working on Big Brother, and I thought that would be 5 days without my children, and then I've got 3 days work, so it'd be quite a long time not seeing my kids.
Yeah.
And I made the decision not to go. But I kept thinking to myself, if she dies, is this a decision that I'm going to be able to live with when she goes?
Yeah.
And I thought, yes, it is.
So you see, I think regret is the most stupid emotion on the planet. Because if I take you back to the moment you're regretting, and I give you the same set of information with the same set of conditioning, with the same brain capacity that you have, you'll make the exact same decision. Right? The decisions appear to be stupid in retrospect when you've developed for a few years after, and you're given a different set of information, right? So do I regret that I didn't spend the time with my mom? No. If you give me now the same set of information and the growth of my mission and the growth of my of my portfolio of books and so on and so forth, I would have probably made the same exact decision again. The decision is different now because she's left. Okay? But what good is regret? I think
I don't have any regrets around that, for sure.
None whatsoever. I mean, the emotion that needs to become your focus is sort of an awareness that gets you to ask, what now? Am I going to do that with my brother? Okay. Am I going to go through that same cycle again? Because when I went for the funeral, then I lost my brother and my sister-in-law in January and February, and then I lost my mom in May. Okay.
Were your brother and sister-in-law married? Were they?
Yeah, yeah.
And they both died?
She died a month before him.
Of separate?
Totally unexpectedly.
Things?
Yeah, so he had cancer. And he was actually doing reasonably well, but sort of relapsed a little. And then the stress, took her with a heart attack. And then a month later, he left.
Wow.
Right? And then my mom left in May. And it's been a year. And then I sat down to with my Khalid, with my brother, who's an incredible human being, like an incredible in every possible way. And I was like, so it's you and I now. Are we going to do this right? You know what I mean? That, I think, is much more valuable than regret. Right? Because the typical me, without that insight, would go like, okay, you know what? Let me write a book about grief so I can help a million other people. Okay? Or can you allow yourself to be a tiny bit selfish and say, I love this man. I mean, Khalid specifically, my second eldest brother, has completely shaped my life. Like Caroline to you, Khalid was that to me. He was very clear in terms of trying to give me guidance, being 6 years older than I am, around how I can become a better person, right? And so, am I going to use that? I think that's really the question. The question is, what are you going to do with your life right now? Now that you know what you know. Interesting year. Tell me about Michael again. Just with a change of a topic. Yes, you little 18-year-old in love.
You know what's interesting, I think, about Michael is all the work I'm doing. We're doing together on. Yeah,
you have this podcast now.
Our lives.
Yeah.
Well, we did a podcast just for fun, really, because when we've worked together for 26 years. He was my hairdresser on all the TV shows that I did.
Oh. 26 years.
Yeah, so he did my hair on Big Brother.
Did he always have something for you, but he didn't say it?
Nothing.
No way.
Like, we were married to other people. We would talk non-stop to each other in the chair, hairdresser.
Of course, yes.
He did my hair 4 times a week. We were probably working together maybe 3 or 4 times a week. We knew each other very well. All, we'd properly share about everything to each other. But nothing, just kind of laughing. But we would also recommend things to each other. So ridiculous things like, I don't know if you've seen, well, this isn't ridiculous, but movies, music, but even things like kitchen utensils or instruments or different types of food or a show that we'd been to. And he's very well read and he's also very clever. So he'd always teach me a lot, and I really respected his mind. I always thought, oh, you're such an interesting person. He always would come with some amazing new theory or something he'd read. So when we sort of started going out together, I said we should do a podcast and just recommend things to people. So like we did together, but record it. And that's what we do. So like last week, we recommended a podcast. I mean, I've recommended... there's a fantastic website. We were talking about parents and people having difficult parents. There's a great website called myhorridparent.com. And it's written by a psychologist who particularly has helped lots of children with their difficult parent-child relationships. Yeah. But also adults come to terms with, a big thing for lots of people is if they've had a particularly difficult relationship with a parent and then they have to care for them. It can be very difficult. It's like that unwillingness to want to care for someone that didn't take care of you, but then you're a good person. You feel like you should be doing it, but it's kind of... we recommended that website because I thought it was a really good social website that people should know about. Or things like, our favourite kitchen gadget is the Xylus chopper. So it's kind of basic, really, what Michael and I do, but we really enjoy it. And sometimes, I don't know if you have this with Hannah, you don't spend an enormous amount of time with her all the time if she lives in another country. But for me and Michael, we're very busy. He's got his business. I've got mine. And sometimes our podcast is a nice time to sit down like you and I have and just actually look at each other and go, oh, hi.
Oh,
hi. Yeah. It's you.
So believe it or not, we constantly talk about that if we just film our 9 a.m. coffees.
The 3-hour chat.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that.
That would be lovely.
I mean, she's a psychologist?
Yeah.
Psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist. She's a psychotherapist and you're you. I'd love to hear that chat.
Oh, you have no idea the stuff. Oh my God, the stuff we talk about. Like, it's incredible, really, and every topic. And understand, she's so smart.
Yeah,
so
she sounds amazing.
No, but what we decided to do is, Finders Keepers, the love and romance thing, which I keep getting tons of requests.
Writing?
So we decided not to write it. We decided to start a very interesting approach to it. Is we're going to turn it into a podcast.
About relationships.
About relationships. Don't take this as a commitment, people, please, but that's what we're thinking now. We want to create a membership, right? And in that membership, we create a community that is a little more than the content. So, one big struggle with everything that I do is I never want to put a paywall be in front of what, right? So we thought, we would have a 45 minutes conversation, you know, let's say twice a month or once a month or whatever, and record that and have it as a podcast, record it live with the members in the room, have it as a podcast, and then, you know, the rest of the conversation and the Q&A and so on is available for the members. And basically take it, instead of a book, to actually write it in front of people. Basically, we take a topic every time and cover it together. But the thing is, because it's such a beautiful love story in itself, is that it's almost as if we're talking about our own relationship in public, in front of everyone, which is so scary.
And how do you feel about your ex-partners, but then talking about each other
I don't,
in the public domain?
Because you brought that point up. I think I had a lot of junk in my life, to be honest, right? So there were people that came into my life that were, you know, not a good fit for me at all, and also not nice people. But these were very few, okay? In reality, I think all of us, I've been blessed with amazing, incredible, many are still my friends, right? And we were just not a good fit.
Yeah.
That's absolutely okay, right? You know, specifically, you know, without mentioning names, but I mean, I'm very, very close to some of my exes, okay? And this is, you know, this is basically a result of a level of awareness and maturity that people come into your life in different capacities. And somehow you end up like, okay, maybe there is a romantic side to this as well. And sometimes it doesn't work, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think it's also important to say, yes, I had really bad mistakes in my life, but there were not so many. And it's okay to have been with someone that I believe is not a good person, okay? The trick is this. The trick is, what is this one?
Yes.
Right? Can I celebrate this one fully? Can I actually really understand that even though it appears to be massive luck to find someone that's such a good fit, that it actually it also is. I think it's really beneficial for people to understand that Hannah and I are working on our relationship all the time.
Yeah.
It's always about that conversation.
And always, I think when you can feel that it's worth really working on and you're both prepared to make that sort of commitment, then actually it doesn't really feel like work. You know, you kind of making an effort with each other or saying, okay, well, let's try and do something together, you know, one night a week or go and do something or... it doesn't feel like work. I suppose the problem for me is that if I talk about Michael, what ends up happening is our relationship becomes public property quite quickly. So the papers pick up on it, somebody else picks up on it, then our kids read about it, and then it suddenly feels a bit tainted in a way by being sensationalized or even worse, trivialized. And, oh, well, she says he likes this for breakfast, or, oh, they do this for every... And I think to myself, I don't want it to be that. I kind of want, there's a part of it I want to keep to myself. And I don't really want, you know, kind of our long-term ex-partners to have to endure me banging on about my new kind of found joy. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's very thoughtful. I think it's also very... in tune with how weird the world we live in is. For me, I think it's because of a brain defect. My life is completely public, like totally. Like I if you ask me about anything that happened in my day to day, I have no ability to say anything but the truth.
Well, I'm quite bad.
Yeah.
I mean, this relationship is something that I've ring fenced.
Yeah.
But I've literally
everything,
vomited
like,
everything
exactly,
else
like you spoke
life.
about your drug years and your, you know, like you're like right, and I
did do that a bit like you, I think, and I can see this in you. I think we're quite similar
we
in
are.
a way, in many ways, in that something happens to you, you find a pathway through it, you want to share that, because I want to help everybody that's going through something similar, and I am so with you on that. And I've done that with drugs. Yeah. I've tried to do that a little bit with sharing my experience with my mother, and that's why I was excited to talk to you about this kind of new development that I've had of beginning to let her accept her into my heart in a very honest and open way. And I hope that other people that might have this kind of really difficult relationship with a parent might, if they can't really find that peace with the parent, that maybe that they might see that there might be a path to it at some point in the future. And definitely around the menopause and definitely around midlife. I mean, going from 40 to 50 was at the beginning.
You're 50?
56, come on.
Are you 56?
Come on.
No, seriously.
Stop it, Mo.
I'm not flirting with you.
Okay.
You're not 56.
I am 56.
Holy shit. What are you doing, woman? Just tell me. Yes. I'll pay.
Yes.
Okay? Tell me what that pill is. Okay? Seriously.
I'll tell you what it is. I think that pill's exercise.
Uh-huh. Oh, come on, Khalas, that's it. Don't continue.
I am
happy.
I'm happy.
Happy. The pill is happy, yeah.
And it's been quite interesting, going through the journey of, my granny used to call it the change, transitioning from a childbearing woman to going through this big change, 2 to 8 years of changing your whole life, your whole being. Your body changes, your mind changes, you almost feel out of control of everything, and then you get through to the other side. If you can grow with it, if you have the right support, if you get the right education, if you can learn about your body, if you can find a community. I've tried to help with all of those things to help women get through to the other side, because it's really nice when you get here. And I think that not enough women, when you're in it, it's like, it's hard. And I've constantly been trying to change the way that society perceives women in midlife, that we are slightly irrelevant, or we're out of touch, and the older I get, the more outlandish clothes I want to wear. I really like taking the tube in an outfit that people will look at me and just go, what is she wearing?
You take the tube like I do.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I get, Mo? It's quite funny. I don't know, when people recognise you, do they just kind of nod at you like, you're right, Mo? Right.
You're all right.
You're right?
Yeah.
I get that from women. So sometimes I'll be sat opposite a woman, and say she is 40 plus, she'll just look at me and just go, like, thanks.
Like you.
Like,
yeah.
Thanks.
I like you. Yeah.
I'm like that, winking. I've got you. So it's like being part of the furniture. When I was presenting Big Brother, I couldn't take the train. I found it overwhelming. I thought that everybody would try and talk to me. Interestingly, since I've started taking the tube all the time again, since I started dating Michael, and I was really nervous about taking the tube. And he said, you'll be absolutely fine. He said, come on, we're going to go and get on the tube now. I got on the tube and I got off, and it was as if I'd never been on the tube before. I got off. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I got there so fast. It was really
so
quick.
Efficient.
It was so efficient.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
And it reminds you of the reality of what it is to be human.
Yeah.
I love that.
But also, I've had some of the greatest social interactions
100%.
of my life on the train.
Yeah. I had Hannah and I were on the train a few weeks back, and I almost never have her next to me without touching her. So it's
love languages.
My love languages?
Have you ever done love languages test?
No, but
Mo?
No.
Mo, you're going to love this.
I love this, but
you know the love languages.
I do.
Okay, so there's a love language test that you can take online.
I know.
It's free.
What are yours?
Well, guess. What's my primary love language?
Somewhere between words of affirmation and touch.
So very nearly. Touch is number 1. Number 2 is acts of service.
No.
Yeah.
I thought that was, so you give acts of service.
And
you like to receive them.
If somebody was to like unload the dishwasher for me, I would be really grateful. Like somebody that does something for the house or to help. Or my uncle and auntie were over for the weekend, and my auntie said, "Right, what can I do?" And I was like, "Wow, thanks so
I
much."
love you.
It means something to me. Quality time.
Uh-huh.
Gifts I score 0 on.
Yeah, I don't care about this at all.
Michael's is quality time first. So what was really helpful when I knew Michael's was quality time was if we FaceTime each other, I don't walk around the house doing, I'm just going to go and put this over here. I sit down.
Yeah.
I go, okay, hello.
Yeah.
Eyeballs.
Yeah, that definitely very high on Hannah's. So when we have our morning coffee, I have all of those plants and fish tanks, and I love my little hobbies. And I'm like, I get up and then try to feed the fish. I can pay a lot of attention to Hannah if I'm feeding the fish. It's like I'm just dropping a little bit of food pellets in the tank, and that would really get to her. It's like, like if we're together, just eyes here. Yeah. Yeah.
So if like I get reassured if I get,
yeah,
I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, so that time we were in the tube, and like I'm always touching Hannah, so it's always, sort of, it looks very romantic almost all the time, and she's a gorgeous woman, horrible taste in men, but the thing is that in front of us there were those 3 guys, okay. And they're like constantly looking at us, and it just feels so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then we get off the tube, and we're on the platform, and they get off the tube with us. And then one of them says, "I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I love your work so much."
Oh wow.
And and it was so humbling, because through the entire 4 stations we were hopping, basically I'm like, why are they looking at us?
Yes, you were worried.
Yeah, like, can you please give us some privacy?
Yes.
And no, I think it's
but
lovely.
We misjudge people so much.
Yeah.
I remember once there was a guy sitting opposite me, and he had a hoodie on, and it was really far forward, so you really couldn't see much of his face at all. And he had headphones in, and he was sitting forward in the seat, so his head was kind of almost on my lap, he was kind of really forward. And I thought to myself, this guy wants to look frightening, menacing, but actually I bet he's a complete softie. And he looks up and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh," and he pulls his hoodie off and he goes, "Davina." And I thought, oh my God, this is hilarious. He came and sat next to me and said, "I love you." And I said, "Well, I love you too." Then he gets his phone out, he starts filming it. And he goes, "I'm going to post this on Twitter." And I said, "Yeah, you do that." And he said, "Are you going to make dinner for me?" And I said, "No, I need to know you better before I'll make you dinner. But when I know you better, I'll make you dinner." And he went, "Okay, well, that's a deal." And we had this conversation for 3 stops. And then I said, "Follow me, I'll follow you." So I followed him. We messaged each other quite a bit. Like, I go, "You all right? How's it going?" And he was like, yeah. "When are you going to cook me dinner?" I said, no. And then I looked at his Instagram and everything. I saw he did a bit of music, and he's like a young kid, 23, 24. And then eventually I said, "Right, I'm going to make you dinner."
No way.
Yeah, I said, "I'm going to make you dinner." And then COVID happened. We all got locked down. And I never really spoke to him again. He kind of just disappeared. But I thought, wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't it be nice for a kid if you said to them, like, "Okay, come over, I'm going to make you dinner." And you could kind of, I don't know, like, I liked him. I thought he was ballsy. I thought, like, he had a great energy. I thought he was really funny.
This is the problem. The problem is, why do we isolate? I mean, I don't. I speak to everyone, but people somehow, and even some of the people that advise me go like, "Why are you responding to everyone?" Because I'm so freaking lucky to have so much.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
But I think we're extroverts.
I'm not an extrovert. I'm the opposite of extrovert.
You must be an extrovert. You
oh
talk
my
to
God.
everybody.
I do, but that's because I think humans are a miracle. But you could call me curious, or maybe an empath or something. But if you,
I'm an extreme extrovert.
Like, you get your energy from others.
Yes, I love it.
Oh my God, they drain the hell out of me.
I'm like, feed me.
Oh, seriously?
Connection. Yeah. I love it.
It's written all over you. No, if you allow me, I'd go to a deserted island with like a few carpentry equipment, and you'll never hear of me again.
So how are you in lockdown then? Good.
Oh my God,
Loved
best time of my life. Yeah.
Michael was the same. He loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
It was the death of me. I hated it.
people blame me for this, but I have a New Year's. I don't call it resolution. I have a New Year's intention every year, and you know what my 2020 was?
What?
Yeah, silence and space, and then the universe was like, okay, we'll give you that. I swear. And I'm not. Don't blame me. It's like, if I.
It's quite weird, isn't it? Silence and space. Wow.
I got the best silence.
2 meters.
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
What was your intention for this year?
This year was joy. You see, this is interesting because in my stages of trying to empower my feminine side, I always wanted to have flow. I had flow as part of my intentions for the last 3 years. But this year, I for the first time decided that I'm now in total flow, but I don't enjoy it that
flow,
much.
do you mean like energy?
No, I mean
What do you
I let life take me anywhere.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. So you see, the masculine side of me would overcalculate everything, leads me to a specific point. Right. The feminine side is like so chill.
And does Hannah have a masculine energy to her at all?
She has both, yeah, very
Yeah, it's
clearly.
interesting.
Yeah.
Michael also has a feminine energy to him.
Yeah.
In that he understands women and is with women a lot.
That's true because of his work.
So he has an amazing, powerful, brilliant feminine energy to him. And he, like, I've got this kind of quite funny masculine energy about me, which I've always had. And it's interesting how that.
But you see, this is I think the biggest thing that most people don't understand. We all have both. So when.
But it's whether you're prepared to accept it or
it's whether you empower it or not.
Yes,
right.
Empower it.
So
That's
so
exactly
so
it.
the question for most of us is how much of so most people will say, if you're a feminine woman, look for a masculine man, and if you're a masculine man, look for a feminine woman, and so on. It is a lot more complex than that.
Yes, it is.
Right? Because there are certain parts of my masculinity that if Hannah steps on, I would not be pleased, right? But there are also certain parts of my femininity that I want to express very openly. And it's not as clear as there is F and M, and it's almost like a gear.
Yes.
Right? It has to fit the entire configuration, which makes it very difficult to find someone that matches you, right? Unless you start, first of all, you have to become aware of you, and then you have to be a little flexible for the gears to literally click together if you want. Yeah, it is. It's hard relationships. This one isn't so far. Yeah.
How long have you been together?
Now 8 months. Yeah, but you see, this is the thing. The thing is, again, I'm so clear sometimes when it came to relationships in the last few years before Hannah. I think the last time I was confused was, anyway, it doesn't matter, so that we don't pinpoint to a certain person. But I'd clearly say 2023, and a big chunk of 2022 as well. I was much more averse to getting in a relationship than I was desiring. So I was really, really protective of myself. And basically my intentions when I went on a date were to say no. So I would go to find the reasons to say no, not find the reasons to say yes, which is quite interesting, because I think one of the reasons why most of us make mistakes is if you're in the rush of that romantic bit at the beginning, you tend to look at everything that's right and you forget to look for what could go wrong. And I think by the time I met Hannah for the first time, we met on the podcast, you know that, right? So we recorded an hour and a half about love and romance. We were doing a
Lethal.
lethal, like, and they, how can you
Had you
expect
fallen
me?
in love with her by the end?
100%.
Oh my God, how brilliant.
I asked
That's
her
so
out.
brilliant.
I asked her out at the end of the podcast.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, I just couldn't, because we were basically talking about our experience of love and romance, but also our work, like our real deep analysis of the topic. And like every time, I swear to you, this is the truth, around 40 minutes in, I can't pinpoint the exact moment in the podcast, but I found my brain clearly in my head saying, oh God, please make her mine. I don't know exactly what she said, but I can vividly remember that moment where I'm no longer listening to what she's saying, and I'm just saying, oh God, please make her mine. Okay? And of course, once you say that, my brain goes like, okay, I'll make sure that this happens, right? So I'm gonna hunt that one down, basically. And yeah, it's quite interesting, because I knew exactly what I didn't want in a woman. I knew exactly what I wanted in a woman. I knew exactly what my weaknesses were. I knew exactly what the assets I bring were. And so when she was presented to me, I was like, yep,
Tick.
not
Tick.
99% match.
Yeah.
Okay. And it wasn't, I mean, she's a gorgeous woman. Like, it's so you can be infatuated, but it wasn't that at all. It was like tick, 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 tick. Okay. And I have very high demands. By the way, that doesn't make anyone that I dated before, not an amazing woman. It's just that I have very high demands. And tick, 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 tick. So I basically, on the first date, which I messed really badly.
Oh my God, wow.
Oh no, that's another story for another day. But
Oh my God.
I messed the first date. I messed it up so badly.
And what were you like when you left? Were you like, God,
No, I actually didn't even notice that I was messing it very badly.
did she tell you?
Yeah. It's the thing that she holds against me for the rest of my life.
I really love her already. I love her. She told you.
She did, because she went to a friend of hers, okay,
Yeah.
and said, "Oh my God, he's a freak." And her friend said, "How?" And she, Hannah had a picture of me based on my work, okay. That sort of almost didn't include the fact that I'm a man and that she's very attractive.
Yes.
And that I was completely nervous for the first time in my life, okay. And that friend said at the end of that long conversation, I shall owe them my life forever. That friend at the end of the conversation said, but you're still sound different. Like, give him another chance. Okay? So
Wow.
that friend saved us, basically. Because she said, well, the way he behaved is not what you expected him, how you expected him to behave, but give him another chance. And I aced the second.
Did you? Of course you did.
I aced the
Course you
second. Yeah. And,
Yeah. Well done.
I slept well. I was ready. I was fully present, and I wasn't trying to push her away. Because my traumas of previous dates
Yes.
were basically saying, I am better off alone
Right.
than letting someone in. So anyway, Hannah, don't listen to this one, please, because she's going to, I don't know if I shared too much. This was your podcast. Well done. You're doing really well as a podcaster. I'm really pleased with being interviewed for the first time on this podcast. Any other questions you want to ask me before?
I'm really just enjoying myself. I'm having such a nice
It
time.
really is a lovely time. Isn't this what it's all about?
Yeah.
Any major new projects that you want to tell me that you're working on?
Well, I happen to have a podcast coming out myself towards the end of the year.
Okay.
Under Flight Studio,
I know, with
Stephen's,
Stephen. Yeah.
Sort of
Oh,
podcast
look
platform.
at you blow up.
And I'm really excited about it because we are going to be talking about the best way to flourish in midlife. So how to go from wherever you consider midlife to be. This happens at different times for various people, but
Correct.
it's kind of where you get to a point where you think, okay, I'm in a different act now, and what do I need to do to maximize my happiness, my health, my potential? But there are loads of things that I'm finding that I want to tidy up before I die, and these might take decades to sort, but coming to terms with my mum is a really good project that I'm really enjoying. Thoughts on, as I was saying earlier, spirituality, on forgiveness, on guilt, on lots of these things that hinder us later. And like you were saying, regrets are ridiculous. I loved what you said about that. So yeah, I mean, I always think you should do the podcast that you want to listen to.
Correct. Yeah. The stuff that you're thinking through.
So I'm just going to kind of just enjoy making it. And if anybody else enjoys it, that will be absolutely amazing.
It's a no-brainer that you actually should be a podcast host.
I'd often thought about doing one on the menopause, but I think it's too restrictive, and I really don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to exclude men.
Yeah.
Because men also have challenges during midlife. It is a challenging time, especially for men. We know that more men commit suicide in midlife than any other. I think that there is a certain kind of set of kind of goals that men feel that they should have achieved by their mid-40s, 50s. And if they haven't, then it's a very, very difficult time for a man.
And if they have, it's also a very difficult time.
Why?
Because my midlife crisis was basically when I've achieved absolutely everything. And then I looked at it and said, was that what it was about, right? Because you set out with your goals in life at a very young age. And by the time you reach them, you're a very different person. And you suddenly go like, oh shit, these were the wrong goals. Totally wrong goals.
Did you set yourself new ones?
Look at me now. I mean, most people actually become so stubborn. So you know how you would buy an item and it doesn't please you, so you buy another one thinking that you bought the wrong one, but buying is going to please you eventually, right? Similarly, with tasks and targets we give to ourselves in our life, we just simply say, okay, so I wasted the last 25 years on this. It didn't work. Maybe I can do it differently and it will work. And so you keep repeating the same thing. I didn't go through that at all. I remember vividly, of course, also a few years after that, Ali left and he completely settled me into the realization of like, holy shit, these were the wrong targets, right? But before Ali left, I started to, I think when Ali was 15, so that must be 6 years before he left, I suddenly completely understood what I was doing wrong. I was just dedicating my life to the wrong objectives. And you achieve them, and that's even worse because suddenly you go like, holy shit. I
remember when I was young and I wanted to become famous because I was desperate to try and get my mother to say to me, I'm so proud. And I thought the thing that would make her proud, I thought, because she was so flamboyant and everything, that she would think it was great if I was famous. And I remember I thought, I got onto MTV and then I thought I need to have my own show. And then I got my own show and that was my absolute goal. And I must have been maybe 25, 26 when I got there. And I called my mum and she said, oh, you always pull these funny faces. And I was like,
yeah, that sounds like...
and it was like stabbed in the heart. And I put down the phone and I cried and I thought, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why do you keep...
Trying.
It's not going to happen.
It's the wrong objective.
It's the wrong objective.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
And I literally felt the weight of that pressure on myself leave me. But then I was like, what do I do now? I was so driven by that objective.
Yeah, exactly. You feel so lost.
I was lost.
Like, what do
without
I do?
it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I realised that I'd made this career for myself, but I actually really enjoyed it. and to let myself
But
really enjoy myself.
that's the right
and
objective.
throw myself in it.
Yeah.
And then always as well, there was an underlying, I had a fear of not having money.
Mm-hmm.
So money was an incentive for me. And actually, I would say in the last maybe 5 years, maybe a bit longer, 6 or 7 years, I have realised that I would be just as happy. I just need enough money. I don't need a lot of money.
Exactly.
And I always thought that I needed money. Trimmings, I've got no interest in that anymore. And that's a really nice place to get to, because trying to make money is a desperate, horrible hamster wheel that you get into, and you're not concentrating on the things that matter in life, on family, on love,
or
on
even
time
enjoying
with
the
people,
money.
relaxing. You're not enjoying the moment. So to take my foot off that wheel and feel safe without thinking I'm going to make millions and millions of pounds and I'm going to retire with like tons of money in the bank, I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
And
that's such a relief.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
But I've gone, I've had to go on a massive journey to get here. But that's what's so nice about getting older, is that, Mother Nature gives you wrinkles or like extra skin on your tummy.
Gives others wrinkles.
And,
Davina.
saggy arms. But it also settles your mind.
Yeah.
For anybody that's been slightly... I've never been tortured, I mustn't say that, but for someone I was really insecure when I was younger. I bumped into somebody at the theatre the other day I hadn't seen for 35 years. And I looked at them and they said, "Oh, it's lovely to see you. My God, I haven't seen you for so long." And he said, "Wow, you were quite mad." And I was like, "Yes, I was." And I thought back to little me. I remember it wasn't that little. I was probably in my early 20s. And I really wanted to go back and give myself a cuddle. I said, the person that you knew then, it's still me, but I'm much happier. I'm in a much happier place. And it's almost like you've got to get to know me all over again, because so much has changed. And if I could talk to like a young person now who's struggling a bit, or whenever I meet any teenagers or anybody in their late 20s, I always want to go, just one foot in front of the other. You're going to be fine. It will be okay. I think when you're in it, you think, I'm never going to feel better. My life is always going to be like this. It's always going to be turmoil. But you will get there. But it doesn't come free.
It doesn't come to everyone as well.
And it does.
You're only going to be fine if you're always willing to reflect.
And if you're stuck in victim mode, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, it's if you're willing to reflect, okay, and review, and you don't have the ego of like, I'm gonna stick to whatever I chose and try to prove myself right, you're always gonna be fine. As long as you're not trying to prove yourself right, but you're trying to find what's right for you, it's always gonna be fine. And I think what happens for most of us is that we make a choice, like going to university, okay, and deciding to be in a specific discipline, and then spending the rest of your life trying to be in that discipline. Maybe it was the wrong discipline and it's not going to be right.
Well, this is one of the big lessons I've learned, I think, in life, is that, especially with young kids. So I've got 3 kids, and I tell all of them, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
Start something
and then revise,
and something else will make itself will present itself to you, and then it's up to you whether you choose to take that path or not.
Yeah.
But things will always, you just got to start.
Yeah.
Give it everything you've got, but don't fret about what is the thing I should do. Just start something, and it will arrive. You
know what happened today?
No.
I actually have no idea if people will enjoy this podcast or not, because I have no idea what we spoke about.
No, me either.
But I made a wonderful friend.
Yes, well, I felt like that too.
Yeah. Okay, guys, look, if you didn't, we welcomed you to our introduction. So
our chat.
Yeah. So now you've attended my the journey to finding my wife, Hannah, which was podcast number 274 or something, and now my podcast with Davina is my new friend. Honestly, I really enjoy. I have no idea how much time this was, but that was so cool. You're such a lovely human being.
It was really nice.
And you actually do radiate the energy of someone who's happy.
Oh, well, I feel like it.
Yeah.
And possibly the most content, I think.
Content is happiness.
I'm in a content place,
Yeah. And you're loved. Makes a huge difference.
And I love.
And you love. I love you very much.
You.
You're a wonderful, wonderful,
and
wonderful
enormous
soul.
respect as well. It's so...
Yeah.
And I loved that book, Unstressable.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, it's really good. I've actually turned over pages, circled things.
Oh.
My son has it at the moment in the middle of exams.
Oh my God! I should write an unstressable for exams. That's actually an interesting
for teenagers.
Teens. Yeah. I should.
But actually, it is quite accessible for teenagers, and lots of your highlighted bits are really helpful nuggets. But I like it the way you hand over to Alice, and then Alice she's got her way of talking, you've got your way of talking. I love it. I go, oh, this is an Alice bit. Okay, great.
Good that we wanted it.
I loved it. Yeah, and you're very different.
We're opposites.
Yeah, I loved it.
But she truly is like family.
Yeah, she's great. She's really smart.
Amazing,
really
amazing. All right, thank you.
Thank
that
you
was
so much.
Lovely. And for all of you listening, I honestly loved this so much. I don't know what happened. I don't know if you're gonna love it. I don't know if you should love every one of them. It's fine. I loved it. So I'm very, very grateful once again that you give me the opportunity to meet such amazing people. Really and honestly, it's such a joy to do this. It's all because of you, because you're watching. So as the professional podcasters would say, help me get more listeners and watchers, viewers, so that I can get even more interesting guests. And so go do what people do on social media and talk about this. If you don't, that's also fine. I love you all for listening, and I will see you next time.